Coisas já está.
Good morning. I hope all of you are okay. I'm just here to inform we will be a bit delayed by maybe 10 minutes due to some traffic. There are some people arriving. So just 10 more minutes and then we will be starting with the first talk. Thank you.
Bom dia. Tá.
Hoje eu acordei pensando em você, pensando no vazio que você deixou. Acordei e fiz uma canção. Pra mim e pra você. Que fala.
Hello, welcome to the third edition of Pycon Portugal. We are very happy to be hosting it in Braga this year. This has been organized by Evolutio, but a word on that, we are hoping that someday other companies in Portugal will take over this effort. We are not keeping this for ourselves. We are just keeping it running until other volunteer teams actually want to continue this effort. You can follow us on our Twitter. A shout out to our diamond sponsor, Pydantic. In terms of help, you can find all the volunteer teams with these green lanyards, and most of the days with these purple shirts. But the green lanyards will stick. The purple shirts, I'm not sure. A big thank you to our platinum sponsor, Zencoder. You can also share in our social media with this handle. An important word about code of conduct. The general rule of thumb is be kind, behave professionally, make it welcome for everybody. We will also like to thank EuroPython Society, Python Software Foundation, and a last-minute insert, which is Django Software Foundation. They helped us providing grants for people with less financial capability to allow them to be able to attend this conference. Just a quick recap. First edition was in 2022 in Porto. Last year we were in Coimbra. This year we are in Braga, and we are already trying to find the next city. If everything goes well, we might announce it during this conference, but it's not a sure thing yet. For those of you who have ordered T-shirts, we will start to give them during the coffee break. And for those of you who have not ordered it, you can still do it, and we will ship them to your address. This year we have a round table discussing a bit about the challenges and the way that the cities are dealing with keeping the talent in their cities. It will be right next with the moderation of Rui José, which is an associate professor here at the University of Minho. From Porto we have Rui Monteiro. From Coimbra, Miguel Fonseca, and from Braga, Luis Rodrigues. They will do a better presentation than I've done next. And it's pretty much it. I hope you have a great conference. Feel free to ask us anything, and enjoy.
Virar à direita.
Ok, então vamos lá.
I will just share quickly. We have some slides from Coimbra. It's the
Just one.
okay. Coimbra is the right place to be. It's a really lovely city. For those of you who don't know it yet, go there and check it. And some teaser about what you have in Coimbra. And now the panel.
Okay, thank you very much. So, welcome to this panel on attracting and retaining technological talent, which is a major challenge for cities nowadays. So, the presentations have been made. Just to remember that we have here with us Miguel Fonseca, City Councillor from Coimbra. We have Rui Monteiro from the Economics Department or Development Department from Municipality of Coimbra, from Municipality of Porto, and then Luís Rodrigues from Startup Prague. Okay. And we are going to have a chat about talents, what it means to be able to attract talents, how can we actually do it. And I would start by making the same question to everyone, just asking our panel members to introduce themselves and to give us a very short view about their vision about this problem and their vision about how we can tackle this problem and try to create cities that are vibrant and are able to attract the best talent they need. Okay, so I'll just start from my left with Rui Monteiro. Can you share with us your vision on this?
Yes, the mic is on, I think. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to say thank you for the invitation for City of Porto to be present on this panel. It was supposed to be Ricardo Valente, City Councillor for Economic Employment and Entrepreneurship. So I'm here on his behalf. So in terms of talent, this has been on the top agenda of this executive since, I will say, the first beginning. This is now the third mandate of this running mayor. So this issue of talent has been on top of the agenda in terms of economic development of the city. What have the city has been done in terms of regarding talent and specifically tech talents? I think the key word that I can share with you very briefly is to address market gaps. So in terms of public policy, our role as a public entity is to see how the market is doing and see with the key stakeholders of the city, how can we address the needs of the market. What we have seen is that there is a gap between supply and demand in terms of competences, technical competences, in terms of the market related to this specific area of tech. We have, of course, University of Porto, we have Polytechnical of Porto, like in Braga we have the university, also in Coimbra also, and we work with them, but we are working increasingly with stakeholders of the city that address specific demands in terms of talent in these specific areas. And they are working also with University and Polytechnical. I will give you two short examples because I think the goal here is to share some ideas of what cities are doing. And the first one, for example, happened very recently. We have an association in Porto called Porto Tech Hub that combines a lot of tech companies in the city. And they have their own training hub inside the association. And very recently, they made a protocol with the Polytechnical of Porto in order to address market failures in terms of specific areas and specific competence to address market demands. And very recently, a very big financial institution, in this case Banco Santander, reached out to Porto Municipality to say, we have seen this project, we like it, how can we help? So a completely private entity related to the banking sector that, let's say, asked us to make the bridge between this association that represents a lot of stakeholders of the city, I will say most of them, and they are now giving grants to this association that with the Polytechnical is giving specific training upskill, reskilling in specific related to tech talent. So this is a practical example of how the city is, let's say, connecting stakeholders to address this issue of talent. Another example is that something that sometimes we are inside our small world and we think we need to figure out solutions for every problem, and we need to look around what is happening around us in the world and what is good examples that we can import. And the other good example that I can share with you, Porto was the second city to bring this project to Portugal, is School 42. I think most of them probably know. Who knows School 42? 1, 2, 3. I would expect more. So this is a model, an international model that is based in France. Is called École 42. That we brought to Porto. The first one was in Lisbon. So it's a school that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with a very specific focus on training in terms of developers, is completely free and is financed by public and private institutions. And they have strong partnership also with stakeholders like Altice. So this is a school that is running in Porto. 25% of the students are already graduate students from areas that are mostly not related to tech. So this is something that we are working on also regarding what we called reskilling, okay? Something that you can look for and explore a little bit. So I would say for start, I share these two projects of Porto Tech Hub and how this association is working with the Porto and the municipality and the stakeholders, and École 42, that is an international case that is now present in Porto. And I think Miguel will talk also in a different, let's say, perspective about these projects.
Thank you, Rui. Now let's hear about Coimbra. So we have the City Council responsible for economy, entrepreneurship, investment and employment. So how is Coimbra dealing with the challenges?
Well, good morning to everyone. I want to greet the organizers and for this invitation. And firstly, I want to say this is the second best destination for this conference after Coimbra last year. That's the first point. And so I don't know if it's possible to share our just the second slide of our presentation. Well, and I want to greet and to welcome everyone to Portugal, to Braga, and to say firstly that in Coimbra we are, especially on the municipality, we are on the first mandate of this executive, and this is a hard way, but we have dealing during these 3 years with some challenges. The main challenge that we are dealing and that is common to our municipalities and to this country, is to retain talent in Portugal and to retain talent in Coimbra. We have the higher pool of talent in a medium-sized city in Portugal, at around 8,500 talents that leave from our institutions each year, mainly from university, but also by the Polytechnic Institution, Polytechnic Institute that will evolve for Polytechnic University, and also by our private schools of higher education. And what we are doing during these 3 years is to take the better conditions from from our ecosystem. and and I want to say for the first intervention that we have been working together with the main stakeholders of our ecosystem, the university, the Polytechnic Institute, our park of science and technology, and the Instituto Pedro Nunes, that is the incubator of the university that has been one of the top 10 incubators in the world. And this is a common mission and a common work that we are doing. That have been some results about attracting multinationals to Coimbra during these years, like Airbus, like Accenture, like Deloitte, PwC, Constellation Group, that begin their operations in Coimbra, mainly because of this ecosystem, this common work on retailing talent and adapt their supply to the needs of the market and to needs of enterprises. And I want also to highlight one project that is similar to that one that we talked about, is TUMO project, that is being developed in Armenia. That is the first digital center on creative industries in Iberia, that was built in Coimbra, that was created in Coimbra in 2023. Also in a building, in an historic building in downtown, that is the building of Altice, and that is the building of the postcard, and that is an historic building in our centers, in our historic center. That is a project similar to Escola 42, that is also free, with partners, both private and public, like the municipality of Coimbra. That is free for students between 12 and 18 years, and that allows them with some areas like robotics, like cinema, music, and I think they are 8 areas of knowledge that want to prepare the next generation to this challenge of not create talent, but retaining the talent in our regions. That is one of the projects that I want to highlight, and that has been developed. It's an innovative project in Portugal. The first one was in Coimbra. The second one was created this year in Lisbon, and that is an highlight of our work with the entrepreneurial, innovative, and ecosystem of Coimbra. And it's the first one the first main achievement that I want to highlight, and also that common work that has been taking good results, and we have good results in attracting multinational enterprises for our city, for our municipality.
Thank you very much. Luís, you are the director of Startup Praga, which is a special type of talent attraction. But can you tell us about Braga, and how do you see Braga being able to also play this role of attracting, retaining talent?
Sure. Thank you so much, and thank you word also to the organizing committee, and congratulations for this conference in Braga. Well, what can I say? From our side, Startup Praga, we act as an innovation hub, as an incubator and accelerator. We support startups in 5 main verticals, from digital economy to medtech, biotech, nanotechnology, and sustainability. And we are part of Invest Praga, which is a municipal company totally owned by the municipality. And from Invest Praga, Braga and Startup Braga, I would say that part of the strategy of the municipality of retaining and attracting talent is being developed through the last 10 years. Obviously, from our side, we are talking specifically of tech talent in these main domains, as I was saying. I would say that one of the main challenges that we have is trying to retain graduates after they conclude their degrees at university. The University of Minho has more than 20,000 students between Braga and Guimarães, probably around 13,000 here in Braga, in a city of 200,000 people. You obviously understand the importance and the role that the University of Minho plays in the development of the city and the region. And we try to address when we selected these 5 innovation verticals, we tried to identify which were the main strengths of the city, looking at the main knowledge centers and higher education institutions, not only the University of Minho, but also the Polytechnic Institute of Cavado and Ave, and also the Catholic Portuguese University. So trying to leverage this talent, these main areas of knowledge, and trying to create value in this. Obviously, to this point, it's crucial that we are able to address and to create strong bonds and connections between the municipality, the local development agencies, the higher education institutions, the R&D institutions, obviously to try to promote these competitive careers in different fields. In the other side of Invest Braga, not Startup Braga, we also have a department to promote the economic development and investment attraction, in which we've been developing a project called Work in Braga for the last 5-10 years, also trying to be aligned with the main strategy of a network of the Braga business ambassadors, trying also to fill those market gaps that Rui mentioned before in specific niches, like Braga has from the construction field or a significantly different field like IT or ICT. Braga, I would say, and Rui José can definitely speak much more with much more propriety than me about this. But Braga, since the 90s, has been playing an important role in the ICT sector in Portugal, from where have been emerging some important companies in Portugal, like Primavera, F3M, Eurotux, and many others. And also, I believe that in some way, the success of these companies was able to also create a vibrant ecosystem that was capable after that to attract other companies to come to Braga. Another important aspect is also that probably 10 or 15 years ago we could have some companies, some big corporates like Bosch or Aptiv in Braga, but they were mainly, I would say, in manufacturing. We are now talking about having significant or important development and research departments of those corporates here in Braga, and the example of Bosch is paradigmatic. It turned from a 1,000 department here in Braga to a 4,000 people company here in Braga, and addressing the future of human and machine interface when it comes to the automotive sector. So I would address these topics to start.
Thank you, Luís. So it seems like all these cities are very concerned about the issue. They recognize the problem. They're trying to develop their own policies. So we heard about attracting companies. We heard about training people, retaining the people who are coming out of universities. So there's different strategies. So a shorter question now for how do you see these different strategies, retaining, attracting, growing talent, and which ones might actually be more effective right now in this particular context to promote talent attraction for the city?
Yeah. So Miguel talked that they were on the first term, and the first thing that it should be clear is that this takes a lot of time. This is not done in one mandate. I'm at this because I'm not city councillor, so I can say that. Because in Porto we are ending a 12-year cycle of the same leadership. So it's important. I'm not talking about who is leading, but this takes time. And we are talking about two words, attract and retain. These are completely different things. Because the first thing is that we need for the talent to have a bite. It's like going to a restaurant. Someone say, I recommend you to go to this restaurant. If the first experience is good, and sometimes this happens, for example, Erasmus students that is in Porto, that is here for a semester, and then ends the student cycle and come back to the city of Porto. So attract is one thing and retain is another. I would say that attract, it's a short-term and retain it's long-term approach. The other thing that I would like to share is this is a holistic approach, okay? Like Luis said, this is not just about, this is about universities, polytechnicals, incubators, specialized fields, but this is also an holistic approach because we need quality of life. We need security. We need, like Miguel said, 15-minute city, okay? So when we're talking about talent, we are talking about people, okay? I have a son it's 21, and he was in a different city. So he made the bite, he tasted the dish, and now he wants to come back for more and more and more, okay? The other thing that I think is crucial is that, as you could see in terms of policy and approach, this is something that all the stakeholders should be aligned. And if there is this alignment, it's easier to attract and retain talent. For example, when we are talking about foreign direct investment and someone comes to the city, wants to explore what's in the city and is welcomed by Miguel Fonseca or by Ricardo Valente and say, we want you here, we want to support your investment here, we want like Invest Braga or Invest Porto does specific project managers to help identify location, identify talent, identify potential partnerships. So if this is, let's say, an holistic approach, this is a good step to attract and retain talent. And so this is inside a more holistic approach. So this is an approach that combines foreign direct investment with Invest Porto, similar to Invest Braga. It's regarding the talent itself, that is a project called Terra, that is called Talent, Evolution, Retain and Attract. So 2 of the words of the conference, 3 are there already. This is also regarding Scale Up Porto, that is, let's say, sister of Braga, Startup Braga, because when we talk about talent, we are talking about digital nomads, startups, scale-ups that in the end can be, it's not mandatory, big companies. So we need to look at this also in terms of the city itself, because we can have the biggest IT center, but if we don't have mobility, if we don't have security, if we don't have good quality of life, it doesn't work. So the approach should be holistic, responding to your direct question. And then we have the positioning, because what Porto can offer in a 41 square kilometer city. The Porto is the 10th smallest municipality in the country in terms of square meters. I will repeat, 41 is completely different of what Braga can offer and what Coimbra can offer. So when sometimes we receive people in Porto that wants to invest in Porto, but they are talking about Porto, but they cross the bridge and they say, I was in Porto yesterday when I arrived, but they were in Gaia. And they landed in Porto, but it's not Porto, it's Maia. So we should look at the territory in a more, let's say, bird-eye view. And sometimes people are working in Porto, but they have production facilities outside Porto, for example, in Braga. So this connection with the cities is also important. That's why we have here 3 cities. In terms of positioning, to close my answer, Porto is, we usually say in terms of talent that we want to be the Premier League of talent in Porto. Because today, if you are a very good football player, you want to play in the Premier League. So this is our positioning in terms of talent.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce another topic now. So Miguel, you talked about being able to attract many companies to Coimbra. As you know, we are having a large exodus of young people to other countries, basically not because they lack jobs here in Portugal, but mainly because they can have much higher salaries somewhere else, and maybe better opportunity in general. So how do you see that a city like Coimbra is able to also attract the type of companies which then will be able to pay higher salaries and actually retain the best talent that the city has?
Well,
it's an unfair question to
yes,
say because it's a
yes.
very national issue. But
yes, in the first
case.
intervention, I talked about the 8,500 talents that leave our institution. But we have in the university and in the university ecosystem, let's say it like that, we have 40,000 here, 40,000 students in a city with 145,000 inhabitants, and so it's a very important piece on our city, the higher student and the higher our institutions of our higher students, and so the attraction of talent is one of our priorities, as I said. Like Rui Monteiro talked about, time is very important in this strategy. This strategy takes time, but we have some ambassadors very important, like Fidzai, the only unicorn that is in Portugal and in Coimbra, like Critical Software, and these ambassadors. Not formal ambassadors are also very important to show how Coimbra is a good place to study, firstly, to live, to develop their businesses, and we have some points that are very important in that strategy: the quality of life. And the security, it is very important nowadays. The quality of life, the mobility, the sustainable mobility that we are also dealing with, the bicycle paths. The first BRT in Portugal, bus rapid transit, that will give an upgrade to the mobility in the city, especially on the city center, and also that we have talked about the strong ties, the strong connections that we have in the municipality with these pieces of the ecosystem. That is quite important because in our meetings with multinationals. We join at the same site, in the same room, the municipality, the university, the Polytechnic Institute, our technological park, especially as Rui said, to show that we are fully compromised with that challenge, and we want to attract that investment, that multinationals, but also other kind of companies to Coimbra, because we have the right conditions for that: quality of life, the mobility, the quality of the high pool of talent that we have on our institutions, and also I want to say that there was in our city we have two main clusters: the tech cluster and the health cluster. Last week we did the second edition of Coimbra Invest Summit. Coimbra Invest Summit is an event that was created by our executive in the second edition this year, and there are two main goals with this event: to promote the entrepreneurship ecosystem of Coimbra, and also to position Coimbra as a place to investment. And one of our goals, one of our main issues on this event is to highlight the two main clusters in Coimbra, the tech cluster and also the health cluster. And each year we will promote an emerging cluster. This year was the space cluster that is on the Pedro Nunes incubator, especially on the Business Innovation Center of European Space Agency for 10 years. It completed 10 years on the event last week. And that is a strategy that wants to highlight the consolidated clusters of tech and health in Coimbra. And so it is a good answer to this question, and also each year to take conditions to these emerging clusters like space this year and like tourism in the edition of 2025.
Thank you very much. Luís, you are an expert on startups, which I believe might be a topic of interest to our audience. So let's introduce that topic. As an incubator, you run these acceleration programs. Mm-hmm. I suppose you managed to attract many international startups. Mm-hmm. How do you see this effect in terms of the city and the ability of city to retain its own startups to start with? Because there's always good examples. Coimbra's, for example, Feedzai and Critical Software.
Definitely.
We also have in Braga our own examples. Mm-hmm. But in the sense, once they become very good, they also need to go somewhere else. So how do you deal with these challenges?
Yeah. I think we have two completely different realities. 10 years ago when we started, it was, I wouldn't say quite easy, but it was comparing to the existing reality, it was easier to attract startups to our own programs, to our acceleration programs, incubation programs, and so on. There was a short number of tech-based incubators in Portugal. Even in Europe 10 years ago, there was not that number of hundreds and hundreds of incubators and accelerators that you have now. So it was completely a different reality 10 years ago. Now we really have to struggle to attract those international startups from different fields, and how can we be competitive on our value proposition to attract those entrepreneurs and startups. One of our strategies is we've been trying to address, as mentioned before, specific niches. We've been developing also in partnership with some corporates and some institutions, some specific programs in specific verticals, like in the tourism sector, or in the sports tech sector, or in the human and planetary health areas, trying to engage important corporates and institutions to also to add their value to those programs. Some examples we developed in partnership with the Tourism of Portugal and the Municipality of Braga, an accelerator called high-tech tourism. We developed last year a program with SC Braga, the main football club and one of the main sports entities in Portugal, a sports tech accelerator called SCB Innovation Hub, trying to support startups in 4 different subsectors in the sports field, from health and performance, from smart venue and smart stadium, to fan engagement, and also to football and sports. So, and it was quite interesting when we started in some way pivoting our own programs. We were able to increase significantly the number of international programs, projects applying to our programs. In this specific case of high-tech tourism and SCB Innovation Hub, these tech tourism and sports tech accelerators that we've developed in the last years, we increased our percentage of international projects applying to these programs for more than 60% of the total of the application. So it was quite significant. Another topic, I think it is also related to the specialization strategy that we have been following. We don't want to be just another incubator. We want to be aligned with the main strengths of the regional innovation ecosystem. We've been trying also to align with the regional and the national strategy when it comes to cluster specialization, or, for example, very recently the development regional authority of Portugal in the north, the CCVRN, launched a call for new technological infrastructures in the north, and they mapped the main market needs in those municipalities or regions, what we call the intermunicipal communities, and they specifically addressed 4 market needs in the sub-region of Cávado, that has 6 municipalities around Braga. And they specifically identified the need in the biomed tech, the need in the sustainable construction, the coast and maritime ecosystems, and also in the design and textiles. And obviously, for us, it made all sense to try to build a candidacy and application for this new technological infrastructure in the biomed tech field. So we've been also trying to align our local development strategy when it comes to innovation with I would say, the common and general development strategy of the regional authorities, of the national authorities, to not be competing with Porto or Coimbra or other cities in Portugal for the same talent in the same specific areas or niches, but trying to develop a complementary strategy to increase the competitiveness of Portugal in general, I would say.
Okay, thank you. So I'll have time for one last question, which will be the same to all of you. You all making a very strong effort to make your cities the best places to go for these talented people. But in the sense, your work will be strongly affected by the context, in terms of what you have around you, in terms of national policies. So in a shorter answer, because I'm trying to keep with the time limit, what do you think would be the main changes, or what you'd like to be different in terms of Portugal, in terms of its education system, in terms of national policies, whatever, that would make your work significantly easier Okay. How this time starts by you? We'll take the other way around. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's a great question. Very briefly, I think that we all need more stable politics. We should not depend on those short political cycles, and in Portugal, particularly in the last years, we've been facing some instability when it comes to the national government and to attract talent, to retain talent, talking about talent in general, or specifically speaking about entrepreneurs or startups. We need stable politics when it comes to regulation, legislation, tax frameworks, and so on. So I would say that this stability of politics would have a significant impact when it comes to the capacity of attracting and retaining talent.
Thank you, Luís. Miguel?
That is quite easy to answer that. We watched Portugal in the last years, and we see that the main challenge is that the political stability, and because economic agents need to know what is the medium term for its activities, and especially it's a polemic question nowadays in Portugal, the fiscal policy, especially on enterprises. It has to be more competitive in order to attract, especially FDI, especially foreign direct investment. That is quite important nowadays, because the main point I want to finish with two main points. Firstly, the training during life, it's quite important, and it answers to this challenge. Mm-hmm. And also one point that is each day more important. It's not only the university course that you have, but the enterprise that you will create. And for that challenge, stability, regulatory, and especially on fiscal policy, on tax for enterprises, Portugal needs to be more competitive, and that question should not be handled politically as nowadays we are facing in Portugal, and that has impact in all fields, especially on municipalities, because that stability on country, that stability on the political field in Portugal, on government and on public policies, that is quite important. It's very important. Is crucial for our activity on municipalities in our work, in our daily work with our citizens. That is the main challenge: political stability, and especially competitive fiscal policy, especially on enterprises.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Miguel. Rui, your ideas on this?
The last one answer the question starts with most of the things already been said. So just to sign also the issue of stability. Of course, when I'm an economist, I'm an economic by profession, and if I'm looking at Portugal and I want to invest, I will make a past analysis and to see how is the stability, how is the approach to employment and to fiscal taxes and so on. If it's something changes every 12 months, I will look for other destination. That is absolutely clear. So stability is very important. I will say not short-term stability, but 5-10 year stability, because when I'm making my project finance, I need to know what variables should be fixed, and if there is some volatility, it should be low volatility in this aspect. I would say that for cities and regions to have more capability to attract and retain talent, we need to have a clear positioning how we want to see ourselves, the city, the region, and the country. And I will give you an example, maybe most of them you know. when Israel said we are a startup nation, it positioning the country, the whole country, to the world. We are a startup nation. So my question is, what is Portugal?
The message is quite important.
Okay, so we have this final message.
I want to share with you
Yeah, sure.
a quite interesting point. Rui Monteiro was my student at Master in Oporto University on multinationals. And so we are very on the same side in this question about attracting multinationals for Portugal, attracting FDI. That is a great challenge for Portugal.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll end up with questions, unanswered questions. But I hope you've all enjoyed this talk. There will be obviously a lot more to discuss. But thank you all for being at this first session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the panel and to let you know that these cities and the next ones have always been really keen on helping us setting up this event. So we are also doing our share of work, trying to get new talent. We are showcasing the cities of Portugal. We aim not to repeat a city during the next years, so we should showcase all the region, all the cities in Portugal, hoping to get some of the international attendees to come to our country.
Coimbra is the right place to be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now changing to a more technical topic, and specifically changing to Python, which is the main topic of this conference. We will have Nicholas talking about. I forgot the name of the talk.
Python.
I know it's Python. Paying attention with Python. I think all of us have been doing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Okay. Whenever you are ready.
Okay. Can you hear me at the back? Yes, good. Thank you. So, good morning. Oh, come on. Good morning. Oh, no. Come on. Good morning. Ah, right. Okay, come on. Wakey. I know the coffee break is after this keynote, so hopefully we can kind of get a bit more caffeinated after this thing. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank the organizers of Pycon Portugal for inviting me to give this talk. I feel very honored to come to Portugal. So I'm Nicholas. I'm a principal engineer at Anaconda, where I work on the PyScript team. PyScript, in case you don't know, is based on a technology called WebAssembly, or WASM, and that's essentially a sandbox virtual machine that browsers understand, among other technologies. And what we do is we take CPython and MicroPython, compile them to WebAssembly, and turn and give you PyScript, which is a platform for Python in the browser. So now the Python that you use on your desktop is now available in a browser, which means that now Python is available wherever there's a browser, which means now Python is available everywhere. So how do you deploy your code to grandma? You give her a URL, basically, now. I'd also like to thank Anaconda for supporting me in coming here. That's very important. I'd also like to say, actually, we were talking about come to Braga. One of the things that I really enjoyed about visiting this place, I've only been here 24 hours, but the weather is awesome. It's just like England. It rains all the time. So I want to find out a little bit about you folks as well. Now, given that we're in Portugal, I imagine most of you are Portuguese. If you're Portuguese, put your hand up. Oh, okay, cool. I'm guessing given we're in the Iberian Peninsula, a lot of you are going to be Spanish. If you're Spanish, put your hands up. Oh, there's a one lone Spaniard here. Woohoo! Okay, further afield, because I think there's about 60% of you are Portuguese. I'm trying to work out where you're from. So French? Ah, zut alors. So I'm British. Any more Brits in the room? Okay, a few of you. Okay, and Germany? Okay, okay. The rest of Europe? Rest of Europe. Okay, sorry, I'm being a bit arbitrary here. And then the rest of the world? Awesome, welcome, 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 welcome. Okay, so I'll start now, and I have to admit something. When I told my workmates that I was going to be speaking at Pycon Portugal, my Portuguese colleague, Fabio, posted this on our team Slack channel. Now, could somebody explain this to me, please? After the talk, yesterday evening, my friend Tiago mentioned codfish, and I said, just hold that thought. You're going to have to tell me about that later on. Okay. So, anyway, who am I? Well, I'm really a musician. This is me in my natural habitat. For most of my teenage years, I was practicing hours and hours and hours and hours a day, which is what you need to do to become a musician. And in my early 20s, I played professionally as a freelance musician. So yeah, this is me in my natural habitat. I'm a heavy brass specialist. I play the tuba. So anything loud and low in an orchestra, that's me, okay? But that's not a great career move, because it turns out I'd have had more chance of work if I were actually born an ape in the UK, because there are in fact more orangutans in the UK than there are tuba jobs in the UK. And further research tells me, this is data science, folks, further research tells me that the monkey would actually have a far better quality of life than I would have, a classical musician. So, for instance, the orangutan, free bananas, 0 work hours, you've just got to sit there scratching yourself or whatever, and no training necessary to be an orangutan in the UK. Whereas a classical musician, it's actually very, very low pay, it's late night work, and it takes years of intense practice to become a classical musician. And this is why my online avatar is usually always an orangutan. So if you ever see an orangutan in GitHub, it's probably me leaving my paw prints, okay? So how did I get from music into code? So, like most unemployed musicians, I became a music teacher. This is me with my amazing form many years ago. Nobody sent me the memo about the school dress code that we had to wear a necktie. There we go. Anyway, it was immortalized in that photo. And at 23, I was made a head of department responsible for the music curriculum in a secondary school in the UK. And for most of my 20s, I spent my time teaching not just teenagers, but adults and music to kindergarten level as well. So I've taught the widest possible range of folks. Music, I also have an MA in philosophy of education as well. And then when my own children arrived, I decided perhaps it would be a good career move to do something that didn't involve children, so I had enough energy for the kids, my own children. So I did an MSc in computing. My dissertation was on artificial neural networks and genetic algorithms. That was 20 years ago, so things have changed rather a lot since that. And that got me my first software development job. And now that I'm an engineer, I still pay attention very much to my interest in teaching through my passion for Python in education. And this is me at, I think, EuroPython 2019 at Bilbao, and I was running the Beginner's Day. Okay. So why? Why this interest? Well, asking what sort of education we want is the same as asking what sort of community we want to become. For education is the process through which we interact with our future colleagues, collaborators, and friends. And this is why education is so important. Thinking about education is a form of paying attention to the future. It's how you change things. It's also how we embody the what and the how that engineers should pay attention to in their work. As a principal engineer, I'm a role model or a mentor to more junior folk, and I should embody what it is to be an engineer. And this is how folks learn to become engineers, by copying what engineers do. This reminds me of Aristotle in the Nicomachean Ethics. He said, if you want to be a builder, build stuff. If you want to be a musician, play music, okay? If you want to be an engineer, do engineering things, okay? Rather than play along. And so how we pay attention to these sorts of things is what we'll be exploring in this talk. So let's start by paying attention to the sort of tools beginners may encounter if they want to become coders. And since beginners want to do the stuff that we all do as engineers, we should pay attention to the tools that we use. So perhaps the most obvious tool that we could look at is the code editor, because that's where the rubber of the tire hits the road, as it were. That's where the coding happens. What's this? Vim. Okay, good. Now, you imagine it's your first day at work, you've never been a coder in your life, and you get presented with this. It's not particularly friendly. The learning curve is like that, okay? Trying to quit the editor is a kind of a whole adventure game in itself, okay? And it's quite intimidating. Now, just for balance, I actually code in VI, but the only reason I do so is because in the mid-90s, that was the only thing that was installed on the university computers for code editing, and I have muscle memory now, okay? I would need a lobotomy to change how I type, okay? And so to a beginner coder, it kind of looks a little bit like this. It looks a bit dangerous. I'm not quite sure what it does. There's no context. What do I do? Help me, help me, help me here, okay? So we're talking about an uber minimalist, very unhelpful way of engaging with the code. Now, if you go in the other direction, we get something like, what's this? VS Code. Who uses VS Code? Okay, that's most people. Okay, actually, just as out of interest, how many of you use VI? Okay, Emacs. That's the right answer, yes. So this is VS Code. If you're a beginner developer, where do you type the code? It's not entirely obvious. How do you run your code? What does everything mean? Okay, it's kind of information overload. And that's okay if you're an experienced software engineer. You're probably all sitting there going, of course, Nicholas, you type your code here, there, and everywhere. But if you're looking at this with beginner's eyes, it looks very intimidating. In fact, it looks like the flight deck of the space shuttle, okay? There are buttons and knobs and all sorts of things happening, and there's data coming at you. And it should, because if you're a pilot of a space shuttle, you really should know what you're doing, okay? So how do you get people to engage and pay attention to coding in the right way if they are beginners? So I'm going to introduce you to Mu. Mu is an open source project that I'm involved in. Mu is a beginner-friendly Python editor. And I created it with an idle but dangerous thought one Sunday afternoon when it was raining and I had nothing to do, and I thought, how hard can it be to write a code editor? And actually, it's taken on a life of its own. It's been downloaded millions of times. It's been used in educational textbooks, lots of learning resources, and in videos on the net as well. If you use Adafruit products for CircuitPython, you're probably going to be using Mu. And it's used in all sorts of places as well. From schools in rural China, I have a very cute video of a bunch of Chinese kids who've been taught by rote how to say in English, "Hello, Nicholas. We love Python, we love Mu, woo!" So that was rural China. I also got contacted by somebody at an Ivy League university in the US, an economics professor who uses Mu to introduce his economics students to coding in Python. Because of course, while we might be developers, software engineers here, Python is used by lots of people in orthogonal disciplines as well, where they need coding. This is why paying attention to how do non-professional coders engage with code that's why it's so important. But who needs mu? Well, mu came out of something called the microbit project. And it was interesting listening to the gentleman earlier on talking about how do you train talent and, you know, develop it and cultivate it and things. And in 2015, the BBC, the national broadcaster in the UK, decided that they were going to give out 1 million small Internet of Things computing devices. And this is what this microbit is. It's about the size of a credit card. It has, as you can see, an LED-based screen. It's got a couple of buttons, and there are sensors on the back, and there's a little Bluetooth radio and a compass and things like that. So every 11-year-old in the UK got one in 2015, and they're still used in schools in the UK and actually all over the world now for learning how to code. And so the Python Software Foundation was involved in this project because, unsurprisingly, the BBC heard from teachers that they wanted to be able to use Python with this. So I was the person who helped coordinate this on behalf of the Python Software Foundation. I worked with Damien George, who is the creator of MicroPython, which is a version of Python that runs on microcontrollers, and we worked together to make the tooling and the APIs and the version of Python that runs on this sort of thing. Okay, and so mu was born out of that project, okay, because as a hopefully conscientious engineer, I asked teachers, well, what do you need? What would you like? What do your students need? I went to watch and observe lessons and see how interactions were happening and looking at the bumps in the road and the way that people were encountering difficulties, and if we could change things just slightly to help them make progress. Okay, so when we're developing mu, we actually obsess an awful lot over teacher and student feedback. This is probably the most teachery thing you're going to see for months, okay? Somebody pointing at a whiteboard. In fact, this is very meta. You've got a person on stage pointing at a whiteboard where somebody is pointing at a whiteboard. I mean, how funny is that? So this is a head of computing at a school that's rather local to me, and he uses mu as a pedagogical tool, as a presentation tool, as well as the tool that the students in his classroom use for coding. Okay. Now, you might think, well, great, okay, well, you talk to your users, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's actually fascinating if you talk to people and ask them, well, what is it you need? If you pay attention to people. And a sort of a funny story is that I was working with a group of teachers. I'd presented mu, and they were like, yeah, great, that's fine, Nicholas, but those of us at the back of the room can't read what you're writing when you're presenting with mu. What we really need in our classrooms is a zoom button, so we can zoom in and zoom out as we need to, so kids can see at the back of the class. Now, I'd never thought about this. The only time I'd ever used an editor was looking at it like this, on the screen immediately in front of me. I'd never thought that a code editor might be used as a pedagogical tool for presenting code. So it took, I mean, let's face it, adding a zoom and an unzoom button to a code editor takes about 5 lines of code, because essentially all I'm doing is changing some CSS in the background. So on-click this button, increase the number. On-click that other button, decrease the button. Magic happens, and by the end of the evening, I'd got this first version of the zoom working, and the reaction from teachers was, oh, how did you do that? That's amazing. We really need to have this in our code editors, because they had been used to using idle, where if you want to change the font size in idle, you have to go File, Settings, Editor, thingy-majig, what's it? This menu comes up, you click a random number, then the menu disappears, and then you've got the wrong font size, and so you have to go da-da-da-da-da. And you do that in your lesson, and you have 30 13-year-olds with the attention span of a goldfish, and you've lost them, okay? Keeping people's attention, and believe me, I'm speaking from experience as a head of music, keeping people's attention is very important in a classroom. We also pay lots of attention to accessibility as well. So mu works with screen readers. We also make sure that our color scheme is friendly for folks who are colorblind, and we also work with folks who have advised us about dyslexia and how that is affected, how easy it is to read, to be literate with your coding if you have dyslexia. So there's all sorts of things that we try and do in the background with Mu. And we also pay close attention to cultural context as well. When I went to Paris to speak to some French computing teachers, they told me that it's not the case that Python is an English programming language where we're using if and else, things like that in the language. It's the fact that all the tools and all the stuff around the language is in English and not French that is a problem. So we make sure that Mu is very easy to translate into other languages. And this is, of course, French, which is a delightful language. I'm especially pleased that the French word for debugger is debugger, which is basically the same as English, but with a funny French accent. And also, in another delightful turn of events, all the translations we have in Mu, we've had more pull requests about the French translation than any other because the French can't agree on what the French translation should be. Thus, kind of conforming to every possible stereotype of the French and how they get on with each other. They're all just so grumpy about their language, which is really quite funny for me. So, by paying attention to Mu in a certain way, we're demonstrating a certain sort of coding culture. And Mu is a means of passing on such a culture as well. It's a teaching tool. And that culture is open, collaborative, and supportive. And thus, so is Mu. We embody this. And Mu is why I'm here in Portugal. Tiago, could you stand up, please? Okay, Tiago, yeah. Excellent standing up there, Tiago. Please sit down. Yeah. So Mu is also a Tiago core contributor. No, change the nouns around. Tiago is also a Mu core contributor. Okay, and Tiago and I intend to work on Mu while we're here. And here we are enjoying a cup of coffee together yesterday while it was raining, while it was like England. Okay, and we're also helped by our friends Vasco, who is Portuguese, Carlos, who has a Portuguese granny, and Tim, who has absolutely nothing to do with Portugal. And we mostly do it for fun. It's rewarding. It's good to hear. It's good to get videos at random from Chinese teachers in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of kids going, woo, Python. Okay? It's really rewarding. So what I want to do now is just change things a little bit. Now, let's explore further how the way we pay attention as coders influences our work. And we're going to start with, well, one of the gods of computer science. Who's this? Dijkstra. Okay. One of the kind of like founding fathers of computer science. The algorithms that are used to figure out network traffic on the internet are basically this dude. Okay, in the 1970s. But he was rather a thoughtful, philosophical chap as well. And Dijkstra said that programming was, and I'm quoting, a practical exercise in the effective exploitation of one's powers of abstraction. Now, what does that mean? Well, abstraction is the means by which we model the world that we encounter. And the world that we encounter depends on how we pay attention to it. Okay? And in the world of programming, here's the tongue twister, it turns out that paying attention to paying attention is worthy of paying attention. Okay? So let's pay attention to a story about encouraging others to pay attention in a certain sort of a way. So, with a world full of code of questionable quality and purpose, someone somewhere thought such software was a good idea. So let's reflect upon what happens as we engage, disengage, or maybe even misengage with the world through our Python code. Because there's a lot of danger in this process. And the danger is that we are finding problems that don't exist. We are creating thoughtless solutions to those non-existent problems. And those solutions are written with spaghetti code. And we're measuring the success of such solutions in dubious sorts of ways. And in order to justify this giant mess that we call programming, we're following rather interesting best practices. So let's cover each of these problems in turn. So problems that don't exist. I don't know about you, but as software engineers, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else of this, software engineers are guilty of pathologizing the world. What do I mean by that? I mean, put simply, as engineers, we often see the world as a series of problems that require solutions. Now, as you know, I have a background in philosophy, and I'm actually more inclined to agree with the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who famously said, well, life is not a problem to solve, but actually a reality to experience. For example, as I've already shown, I like drinking coffee with my friends. And I have a mocha pot, just like this one, at home. And I've had that for years. It's kind of been following me around. And it's just like a comfort blanket at breakfast, really, for me. It's part of the ceremony of my morning routine. I make my wife and I a cup of coffee together. It's a nice thing to do. It smells nice in the kitchen when I do this. And there's a certain sort of gentleness about doing what this chap's doing on the video here. There's something rather wonderful about making a coffee with a mocha pot. And I guess, though, that there's a problem. There's a problem if you're in a hurry, because it takes several minutes to make a mocha pot coffee, okay? But I would argue, but why rush a coffee? If you're drinking coffee quickly, you're probably doing it wrong. But anyway, some people thought it was a good idea that we needed to have instant coffee. So, instant coffee isn't so much a thoughtless solution as a tasteless one. Like the annoying artificially intelligent doors from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books that swoosh with the satisfaction of a job well done, we have instant coffee. Now, hands up. Has anyone ever had a nice cup of instant coffee? Okay, you're kind of going like that, hedging your bets, okay? We'll say no. But I guess instant coffee has one advantage, and that's speed. But like I said, do you want speed with a cup of coffee, okay? It does have many multiple disadvantages. It tastes like dishwater is perhaps the most important one of those. Okay? But never fear, tech will save us. Yes, we can have great tasting coffee through the convenience of the touch of a button on a machine with all the beauty of a collection of spare parts from a Dalek from Doctor Who. This video here is 5 minutes long, and you don't even get a cup of coffee at the end of it. It's just how do you set up the damn coffee machine, okay? And by the end of it, you can press a button and coffee comes out, but you've lost something as well. You've lost that ceremony of coffee making, that gentle, I'm going to make Mary a coffee. It's kind of how I, as a husband, kind of show Mary that I love her and all of that sort of stuff. It's a nice part of my day. But this, to me, it looks about as much fun as writing YAML to configure, I don't know, a Kubernetes cluster or something like that, okay? And again, this definitely reminds me of the useless sort of technology in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, okay? All these strange machines that pollute that universe. Talking of which, this stuff kind of follows me around, and it was following me around on my way here yesterday. Now, I noticed this device. I'll tell you what it does in a minute. See if you can guess. I noticed this device stuck to the wall of the bathroom cubicle I was using at London Stansted Airport whilst getting my flight here to Portugal. And I thought, this is rather funny, so I took a photograph of it. It's called an IP I'm not making this, literally, it's on the photo. And it's some kind of robotic flushing thing. Okay? What I want to know is, if the fuse goes, what happens? Didn't anyone think of that? Also, it kind of gives off HAL 9000 vibes to me, which is perhaps not what you want when you're trying to relax in a toilet. Okay, and depending on what wall you're facing, and gentlemen will appreciate this, the reflective mirror-like sheen is rather off-putting when you can see yourself in it. So I was intrigued to find out what I would find at the Portuguese end of my flight. So, like a good engineer on a usability exercise, I went to find out. I just want to say bravo, Portugal. This is the right answer. Just press the damn button, please. So, I recently reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is why it's sort of appearing in the talk now. And when I read the quote I'm about to read you, I felt seen as a software engineer. And this quote is about the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation, who make all sorts of convenient technical solutions in the Hitchhiker's Guide universe, like those doors that slide open with a sigh. Okay? Here's what Douglas Adams said about this company. It is very easy to be blinded to the essential uselessness of their product by the sense of achievement you get from getting them to work at all. In other words, and this is the rock-solid principle on which the whole of the corporation's galaxy-wide success is founded, their fundamental design flaws are completely hidden by their superficial design flaws. Bingo. The utter uselessness of the technology distracts our attention from the mistake of ever creating such a thing in the first place. I was actually bought a coffee machine, which is really why I was kind of hating on the coffee machine earlier. And it took about an hour to set up our damned coffee machine. And after 3 months of using it and missing our morning coffee routine together, it kept bleeping at us, which is the worst thing you want in the morning, because it wanted us to change a filter, or something needed reconfiguring, or the time had run out, or blah, 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 blah. It made making coffee an unpleasant experience. Now, nobody asked if it was a good idea to create a technical solution to the problem of making coffee. There likely isn't a problem, if I'm honest with you, from my point of view. Rather, folks feel so relieved that the damn machine makes them a coffee that they forget they probably don't need the machine in the first place. This kind of reminds me of, the urban myth about NASA and Russia during the kind of 1960s heyday of the space race. And the Americans spent millions of dollars on making an ink pen that worked in zero gravity. What did the Russians do? They used a pencil. The same overcomplication and blindness to superficial problems at the expense of fundamental problems also happens when we write code. So consider the classic joke about how to write Hello World. It puts into focus how the way we pay attention to our work has influence over the quality of the work that we produce. So, of course, we're talking to a beginner coder, and we say, in the classic way of getting folks introduced to a programming language, I want you to print Hello World, while in Python, print, parentheses, quotes, Hello World is what you do. But after a while, you become more experienced, and you hear about kind of abstraction, and I'm going to kind of put a black box for hello-ness in my code. And so I'm going to create a hello function, and it's going to have, default arguments in the parameters that are passed in, and I'm going to use an F string because F strings are cool. And you end up with code that looks a little bit like this. Now, of course, a few years on into your career, you've heard about design patterns and object orientation, and you're feeling confident and you're enjoying yourself because technology is cool and it's kind of fun. And so you create a hello class. Oh man, where do I even start with this? Okay. It's a thing. It's a thing, definitely a thing. But after having to maintain such spaghetti code as an experienced engineer, and I know because I'm over 50, so I've been doing this for 20 more plus years. Life's too short, young coders. Don't write code like that. Really, simplicity is the best. So an experienced developer would do what the beginner was doing and just print "Hello World." But of course, there's that legendary beast, the virtuoso programmer. And what do they say? We don't even need to hello world anyway, okay? Code that's not written, code that's deleted, can't have bugs in it, you don't need to maintain it, and you don't need to have to write unit tests for it, okay? So what this virtuoso coder has done is stepped outside of the problem and is looking from a higher level view, rather than paying attention to the code or the technical problem or the fact that they're having fun jazzing about with classes, okay? They're thinking, do we actually need this? Now, given such engineering of a dubious quality, we sometimes try to spin what we're up to in a positive light. And of course, who wants to look like a moron when you're talking to technical people? Of course, people kind of go along with, if you blind them with science. And we find ways to distract attention away from anything actually helpful, useful, or meaningful. We're very good at that in our industry. We'd rather focus on something meaningless, actually, but which to a non-coder looks very significant. And I want to draw your attention to a slide from a recent presentation that I attended about UV. Now, there's nothing wrong with UV as a project, but this measurement of success through the medium of GitHub stars hit me front and center as, well, hang on a second. The number of GitHub stars, we might as well be measuring orangutans again, okay? For all the meaningfulness that a graph such as this gives us, okay? Actually asking what this graph actually means is a very good question, because what it actually means is this project has great PR and a wonderful DevRel team, okay? And I want to say well done to that team as well. You're doing a cracking good job, and well done to the UV team for making something really quite spectacular. But I want to draw your attention to the presentation of the kind of the PR, as it were. Perhaps we can all agree there are more important or helpful things to which we should be paying attention when it comes to coding. But what are these more important things to which we should be paying attention? How do we find out what these are? Well, no, we look at best practices, right? This is going to be good. I can see some of you already shaking your head like this, going, oh no. So AI was bound to make an appearance at some point, and you can't help but be amazed by some of the amazing results it produces. What I find interesting is how we pay attention to the outputs from AI. That it looks convincing doesn't necessarily mean that what the AI is telling you is correct. I'm also delightfully amazed at the way in which AI misdirects its attention, often with comic or unfortunate side effects. Let's just see. Oh, is that the right answer? No. An elephant's tail actually covers its bum. Now, interestingly for me, I was working with some academic friends at Tufts University in Boston last year, and they were telling me they did a study on how people were using AI to fulfill their coursework. And those folks who had a background already in coding were asking sensible questions, surprisingly enough, and the AI was giving them sensible answers, unsurprisingly. But those folks who had never coded before, this was their first encounter with code, were asking all sorts of ridiculous things. And of course, what was the AI doing? It was just making stuff up, which is essentially what the AI is doing anyway, okay? It wasn't a helpful thing, okay? Perhaps taking advice from an AI is not best practice. It's often fun, but I always have to check my code if I've been using, say, Copilot with GitHub. So I want to know, where does all this best practice come from anyway? So actually, and I include myself in this next statement, beware people who offer themselves as gurus, who promote a system or offer pithy advice about best practices. Paying attention to them can often be detrimental simply because you cede responsibility for thinking for yourself, and that's very important. This is also perhaps true when paying attention to AI. We're ceding our thinking to a machine. The computer says so in such a convincing manner, so it must be right. Actually, please check your code. And here's the thing about such best practices. They're often actually really stupid and rely on the inherent intelligence and humanity of the participants to ensure that they are actually meaningful. Just look at the poor reputation Agile methodology currently has these days, as rules, processes, and best practices are enforced at the expense of, well, you know, actual intelligence, insight, or compassionate ways of working. Such tropes are often satirized, and perhaps the most famous one in terms of developers is Doug Zonger's, I don't believe I'm about to do this, is Doug Zonger's chicken. In the early 2000s, Doug wrote an academic paper that followed all the guidelines, conventions, and best practices of a computer science report, but it only contains the word chicken. He also gave a classic academic conference presentation containing just the word chicken. It can be found on YouTube, and I encourage you to watch it. Of course, we Python developers are far beyond being sent up for our own coding practices, right? Hold on to your hats. Chicken.py. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 sauce chicken. Chicken, pip install chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, chicken, chicken. GitHub chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, chicken, chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Underscore chicken, arg chicken, chicken, egg, chicken, 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 chicken. Chick, chicken, 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 arg chicken. Chicken, try the chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken. Packaged chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Read the chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Community chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. 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 Chicken, 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 chicken. Pool, poulet, 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 pool. Zit alors. Chicken, 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 pool, pool, pool request. Pool, 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 chicken, 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 chicken. No more chickens. I must apologize, but I always wanted to try that stunt, and now I have, thanks to Pycon Portugal. You've been very patient with me. But in case you've not been paying attention, I'm attempting to use humor to make a very serious point. Computers are not just machines for rapidly evaluating logical instructions. They are a medium through which we share and express our values, cultures, social world, and forms of life. They are only valuable because we are able to create and express things of significance with computers. Furthermore, the way we express things with computers and that we choose this form of expression is also of cultural significance. Like other forms of creative endeavor, computers reflect those who make, inhabit, and collaborate through such a medium. Computers shine when they enlarge us in an affirmative, fulfilling, humane, creative, and expressive way. Yet computing just for the sake of computers, with no regard for culture or human beings, is a diminished, inhumane, and insular form of ignorance. As we have seen, our world is polluted by complicated and unpleasant computerized gizmos, intelligent yet crushingly stupid conversational agents, programmable coffee makers, bleh, automatic toilet flushers, most of which are banal or frustrating to use. Such a shallow, invasive, and unfulfilling world of computing is perhaps inevitable. It reflects our failure to think creatively when we focus on automating things in the most trivial, complicated, or inconvenient manner. But there's hope. By highlighting such problematic states of affairs is helpful, because then we can start to compensate and rebalance. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm a software engineer. I like technology, okay? It's not that technology is intrinsically bad. Rather, the way we pay attention to it is often thoughtless, shallow, and ill-judged. There are many different ways to pay attention to the world, and by focusing on the whole, or parts thereof, each illuminates the other, depending on the sort of attention we pay to it. The world is independent of us, yet how we pay attention to the world reveals the world to us in a certain sort of a way. Such creative attention is a potent and fluid process of encountering, understanding, and expressing. We discern the universe and also change the universe through our discerning it. How we choose to pay attention, for it is certainly a choice, is a significant creative and moral act. It both makes and enlarges the world. Often we make this difficult. We forget to pay attention in the way we're paying attention to ourselves, each other, and what's going on in the universe outside. Now, an inevitable musical metaphor illustrates what I mean. As a performer, I could just play in a mechanical yet very accurate manner, only paying attention to the technical or formal aspects of performing a piece of music. Yet this is clearly a diminished performance because of the absence of attention to expression, feeling, or what I would call ensemble, which is how I communicate with my fellow musicians and the audience. Those aspects of being a musician are called musicianship. Now, the former attention to musical technique is only worthwhile if the latter attention to musicianship is also present. To be a good musician, you need to bring to bear many different ways of paying attention, each of which contributes to a new, unique entity containing and combining all of these integrated aspects. Such transcending of pure technique to create something larger than the sum of its parts applies just as well to our work as software engineers. If you're just thinking about the code, you're doing it wrong. We pay attention in this creative manner because it gives us an enlarged, affirmative, and stimulating way to participate in and transform our world. Put bluntly, it brings meaning to our lives. Perhaps the most important thing to which we can pay attention is ourselves. Now, I like this quote. It's not mine. But here's the secret. Oh, Guru, what is the secret of success? Good judgment. How do you get good judgment? Experience. How do you get experience? Bad judgment. So, to what we pay attention is important. How we pay attention is equally consequential, but often unconscious. Considering why we pay attention is perhaps most significant, because it's an engaging, poignant, and sadly neglected opportunity for self-examination. And I sincerely hope we all find a way to pay attention in a more compassionate, creative, and magnified manner, especially as we work as programmers. Personally, I can't help but feel the missing part of our relationship with computers is an emphasis on things like culture, contemplation, and creativity. Activities and aspects of our lives that are affirmative, healing, empowering, raise up our existence, or provoke useful reflection and personal growth. Contrast this vision with our current technical world. Social media is anything but social. It's an efficient advertising laboratory that turns humanity into lab rats caged in echo chambers of digitally digested packets of small-mindedness. Artificial intelligence, metaverse, and blockchain and other buzzwords are nerdy PR for the clever use of computers to unsatisfactorily automate human activity, including all our latent prejudices, as we all know. Computer games are mostly beautiful-looking yet formulaic variations on a theme, target-driven and hardly allow a player to express themselves. And of course, no aspect of life is too small to be solved by an app available on your mobile device. This is a peculiarly problematic outlook. It's as if we're all broken and we need technology to fix us. My challenge to you is to rise above a merely technical view of computers. I hope you imagine, create, and participate in a meaningful, authentic, and engaging culture expressed with and through computers, because they are amazing machines, and it is such a privilege for us to have the skill to be able to create this sort of magic with such technology. So what I hope for is we have a culture in which computers become a medium for affirmative, liberating, and expressive activities that enlarge ourselves, our world, and our place in it. Thank you very much. That's it. Yeah, the rant's over. So, I know we had time issues, and the person who's kind of doing that, I don't know, it's coffee break now. I guess to reset, we can just say, if you want to have a chat, I'm a friendly guy, come and say hello. If you've got something you want to say now, perhaps if you've got a question, now would be a good time to very quickly, if you've got the microphone. Do we have any questions?
Hey, Nicholas.
Hey.
So thanks for the insightful, provocative presentation. This doesn't work. Right, I can speak up. Okay. So thanks for the insightful and provocative presentation. It's all about tech and people, I think. But the chicken thing, right? We're in Portugal, right? So you should do that in Portuguese. Can you do that in Portuguese? Do you know the word? Yeah, that's it. So do a bit of frango for me, please.
Frango.
Yeah.
Frango?
Frango. Yeah, frango.
Frango. Okay. Frango. Ah, it doesn't work. Frango. Oh my gosh, my slides have gone crazy. Frango. I don't even know what I'm saying now. Frango. And then we get to the French, of course. Poule. There are other kind of discussions. Honestly, I didn't plan this. This was done as a joke in the early days of COVID. And my French friend Bruno kind of got involved with the French stuff. But there's a whole discussion if you go look at the issues on, can we have Chinese chicken? Can we have German chicken? Can we have other? So anyway, the pull requests are there. Okay. Frango. Any more questions? One over there. You'll need the microphone, though. So who's got the microphone? Arriving. So musical interlude. Oh, okay, here we go.
Okay, just a quick question. When we have a world where complexity is usually seen as value, how can we simplify things like you said there? Because most of the times when you have something that we have to do for a client, if we simplify it too much, there's not enough value. So we usually tend to complicate things. So there's enough value. So there's a chicken and egg.
Hey, this is the theme for the conference. You make a really great point, and there is no answer, really. I guess this is the best you can do. You're going to make mistakes in your career. I know I've made many. Please ask me about the time where I managed to be a part of deleting the credit card database at The Guardian. They weren't pleased about that, I can tell you. You know, it's inevitable. No matter how hard you try, things are going to go wrong. And what do I mean by wrong? Well, there's clearly, you know, don't delete the database is definitely a wrong thing to do, but wrong in terms of I asked for a thing and you've given me something completely different. And that's because I wasn't paying attention to what you were asking. Okay, so a large part of what we do as software engineers, and again, I'm just as guilty as anybody else of doing this, is I see a new technology that's kind of cool and exciting to use, and I go, ha, watch me, and then off I go and have a play around with it, okay? And then, of course, given a hammer, everything looks like a nail, okay? Perhaps what we need to do is cultivate a way of expanding our view of the world and maybe being a little bit more humane about it. I think maybe architecture, I mean built architecture, not computer architecture, is a way that we can pay attention because they think very hard. I know a few architects, they think very hard, or good ones do. I've seen some of the buildings in London recently, I'm not quite sure, but you know, they think very hard about how a building affects the people who are passing through it and using it. And perhaps we should cultivate a similar sort of way of paying attention. Because let's face it, you know, you're on your phone and social media, their business is literally how many impressions of adverts can we get from people? So they design algorithms to keep you clicking. Okay? That's borderline unethical, in my opinion. Okay? And speaking as a former teacher, and I was a teacher at the time of Tamagotchi, I can tell you the amount of time wasted with these awful devices and kids not paying attention to what perhaps they should be was a tragedy, really. Anyway, what a jolly answer. We're all doomed. Any more questions? Otherwise, it's coffee and you can all wake up. No? Okay, thank you. You've been a great audience.